Welcome and good evening again with the Racing Liga Global F1 here on Racing Liga TV. I'm Pommes and I got on my side with me Benjamin. Hello Austin.
Yeah, Pommes, very excited for this one. It is Silverstone, the home of British motor racing, the venue of the first ever Formula One race all the way back in 1950. This is where it all started, and about 71 years later we are doing it virtually as well. Very interesting to see what's going to happen between these drivers. We have a Red Bull 1-2 in the championship. Little bit different to real life, but not that much after all. Liam Parnell 26 points ahead of Dylan Warren. But behind that, it's really, really close. Ruben Vallejo only 11 points behind Warren. Kersey and Richie, the two Alpine drivers, only 2 points between those two. They are already, Kersey being 12 points behind Vallejo, and then Richie 2 behind Kersey. And a lot of reserves then following. Sam McBride, HX4K, Manolin, JST, Pedreño, Moreno, Baena. Lots of Spanish drivers as well. So we'll see if Liam Parnell, Dylan Warren can withstand the Spanish Armada.
Yeah, and therefore we already prepared the list of the current drivers in this league, which team is competing in what position, and we saw what you just said. P1 is the Red Bull team, and I have to say this is a very comfortable lead they have. This is up to 70 points, so currently Red Bull is around 140 points, and P2, which is the Haas team, is currently down to 70 points only. So this is a very comfortable lead for the Red Bull drivers. And we also see some small changes in the standings. We have the Williams team coming up from P8 to P6, and we have P8 on P8 we have the Mercedes team, because I think we had a lot of we had some DNFs and we didn't have so much participation in the team. So that's basically what happens when you are not racing every week, and that, I have to say, that's the benefit from Liam. For example, he's going for it every week. Even if he didn't practice, he's just gonna go for it, and then you can just win the Italian Grand Prix, for example. So yeah, obviously with the lead we are pretty much done, and as we saw, we have a few drivers which are still not with us today. For example, Michael Lopez in the Ferrari, or Manolin today is not driving in the Aston Martin, and also I think the complete Haas team is not available there. Let's say the main drivers. So we have, as you said already, the reserve drivers coming in for them. So yeah, let's I think I'm pretty impressed from your knowledge, so let's go for the track itself and have some overfly on this nice track, and you can give us some data and facts about it.
Yeah, it is of course a 5.8 kilometer long, so almost 5.9, 3.66 miles exactly, 26 laps the drivers are going to have to do here, and 18 corners after all, 8 left, 10 to the right. It is a clockwise circuit, as many of them are, obviously, especially the ones in Europe. And yeah, the lap record here held by Max Verstappen from 2020, although that might have changed in 2021. But in 2020, the lap record was a 1:27.0. Expect the drivers today to go a lot quicker than that. The average speed around here is around 243 kilometers an hour, and that's the race lap record. So in qualifying, these drivers will easily beat 250 kilometers an hour. In the race, they still might beat 250 kilometers an hour, because the game is also a little bit quicker than real life. Therefore, the drivers will have a bit more speed throughout the circuit, but it is the second fastest track on the calendar. You might think, oh, well, Silverstone goes, slow corner here, slow corner there. You look at turn 3, sure, but it's also got a lot of really fast corners. If we just think about the iconic Maggots, Beckett's, and Chapel, of course. We have Stowe, incredibly difficult corner to get perfectly right, and an incredibly easy corner to invalidate your lap on.
Yeah, totally. I mean, when we're talking about the track and the conditions to drive, I think also a very important point are the tires which can be used today. And this we have prepared on the next slide here. We have the C3, which is a soft tire. We have the C2 as the medium, and we have the C1 as the hard compound. And actually, they have the same gap between them. So we have the soft, almost like, of course we did it a bit approximately, but we have 0.5 seconds between the soft and the medium, and the same for the medium and the hard tire. And obviously I think we can just give a bit of an outlook for the strategy. The pit stop is huge. This is like a huge time loss, and we will probably see one stops only, right?
Yeah, I mean, certainly. For one, there's two reasons for that. For one, this pit lane is the longest pit lane on the calendar, and not just on the Racing Liga Global calendar. No. The whole F1 calendar, including the new track at Portimao. This is the longest pit lane. You lose from one pit stop 28.5 seconds. Yes, you heard that right. Not 24, 25, which is sort of your Singapores, your Russias, even Italy at this point has gotten really, really long. No, 28.5. At least 2.5 seconds longer than any other circuit, Singapore being second in that with 26. And the tires easily last. The soft, you mentioned soft, medium, hard, half a second between each. And you mentioned it's an approximation. It's a very good approximation. The perfect time that Pirelli gave us is 0.505 seconds. So it's pretty much half a second. I think that's a very good rounding there. The softs last half the race already, which just gives you an idea of how long the mediums and the hards will last. The hard tires last 25 laps. The race is 26 long. So almost the whole race. In fact, you can make him last the whole race, I'm pretty sure. It wouldn't take the drivers too much to make him last 26. Those lifespans of 13 for the soft, half the race, 19 for the mediums, and 25 for the hards. Those are just, I would say, conservative estimates. If the drivers want to go longer, they can. There would definitely be, I think, if push comes to shove, a driver would be able to go for, I'd say, at most 15, maybe 16 laps on the soft. But once again, there is absolutely no need for it around this circuit when the tires already last that long.
Yeah, and especially with the tires, you have to consider one safety car can change the complete race here, because even when it's just a safety car in the first lap, you can go to the pits, you can just get the hard tire, and you're basically done with your strategy. Of course, it depends a bit on the weather, and maybe you have some damage, whatever. Maybe there's later on some VSC phase where you can maybe think of another pit stop by just gaining some tenth or maybe also seconds coming to the end with a soft tire. But yeah, obviously the drivers do not want to go into the pits. They have to, because they have to change the color of the tire. They have to use another compound. But that's basically already it. And we see in the background already the session obviously has been started. I think we have like around 10 minutes left, so we will switch to that one quickly. But just summed up again the track facts, the available tires, and yeah, in the next step I think we can just swap over to the bigger screen and see what's going on, and then just enjoy the show which is given here by the drivers. So that's where we're in. We see Liam Parnell currently at P1 with a 1:26.445, leading before Carter Lundy and Daniel Rocca. It's nice to see them both in a Mercedes today. I'm not sure, have they ever been racing at the same time? I'm not familiar with the first few races.
Good question. I don't actually think so. Maybe we had one race where they both raced in the same race at the same time. Let me actually check. I think, yeah, Liam is thankfully not removing all these registration messages that he always has. Yeah, the first one, Rocca. The second one, Rocca missed. No, they were there for Belgium for the third race. Rocca and Carter Lindy were both in the Mercedes, but every other race since, Danny Ricciardo has missed. Catalundi, he has a 100% attendance record. Can absolutely not fault him whatsoever. But despite that, he's only come away with 17 points so far this season, and he has a lot more potential, as we see from his second place right here, as we saw throughout the season. It's sort of for him, it's a season of missed opportunities, I would say. There were quite a few instances where we could have gotten major points, we could have gotten podiums, you know, and it just didn't happen. He did get one podium at the end of the day, so at least he got 15 points from that. But other than that, a lot of zeros, a lot of DNFs, and 9th place as well to score the remaining 2 points to make it 17 as he has currently in the standings. So, gonna be interesting to see. Right now they're in P2 and P3, but Catalundi, he often qualifies well. There's an Aston Martin stranded. That is Bryn Evans on the main straight, on the Hamilton straight, as it is now known. And yeah, he's going again, thankfully. But that certainly threw a spanner in the works of Catalundi's lap, I reckon. Either way, Catalundi, will he be able to finally get his second decent result of the season? He certainly has the pace, but does he have the luck?
So I just had something on my camera, which I think it's pretty surprising. You remember the race back in the days when we were pretty impressed by the driving of Javier Fernandez, how fair he was with everybody, how he was just taking the situation, and he was like completely ignoring Danny Ko on his hot lap. And that's what Stanley's showing right now, that you were blocking off my lap, going into sector 2, no matter what, he's staying in front, going for his out lap. So pretty bad for Danny Ko. He couldn't finish his hot lap and he's going back to the pit stop. So I'm a bit surprised. I was like, is someone else driving for Fabio today? I'm not sure, but that didn't look like him.
And maybe he heard our comments last week and was like, you know what, maybe I'm too nice. I have to change. I have to bring out the wild side in me. I don't know, maybe it was just a lapse of judgment. You gotta remember, at least in real F1, the drivers have the teams telling them who's behind them, and they still mess it up sometimes. So that doesn't exist here. Our drivers here don't have that luxury. So they have to look at the map during the outlap the whole time, at the track map. They do see that, but to constantly have your eyes on it and still, you know, point the right way and go the right direction, it's quite tricky, quite difficult. And so these things can happen. I think that will be penalized. But I don't think there was any ill intent from Javier Fernandez, and I hope at least that his fair driving style in the race comes back for the race. In qualifying, yeah, sometimes these things just happen. It's just, like, there's no ill will for any drivers to hold anyone up, and usually it's also met with a penalty. So the stewards will decide that, obviously, but I'm pretty sure that's going to happen. As Javier Fernandez is coming through the final couple of corners here. What's it going to be? Zika Bahena wins second. Javier Fernandez, his first lap, he comes across the line, 26.5. Look at how close it is. 26.0 provisional pole. Javier Fernandez is half a second slower, and it's only P8.
Yeah, that's actually, the gaps are super small between P2 and let's take P12. Let's say this is 6/10 of a second for 10 places. So Liam Parnell currently off with 3/10 of a second on P1. Then we have Vika Bayena, and then Kersey also with a very nice lap there. Yeah, Modesto Moena, he's like very close behind Kersey, and we still have 3 drivers which do not have a lap yet, so let's see what is coming from the Haas driver. It's actually reserve driver Son Oxes. I don't know how is it spoken? You know him?
It's I don't even know how it's spoken either, but I do know that the X is replacing an A. Therefore, you can just call him Saint Oates, because his actual name is Zach Oates. And he goes by the username Oxtes. I don't even know how to pronounce it, if that's right or wrong. But generally, everyone just calls him Oates. and that generally does the deal. So Oates through Chapel here looked pretty good. A little bit, the car was a little bit feisty there. It was fighting back against the driver, but the driver kept the other hand, and Oates now through Stowe misses the apex by about 2 wheel widths, 2 tire widths, which is already quite a bit. Gets Vale nicely though, Club as well, and heading through the final corner, still part of the Club section. It's a 26-7, and I'm pretty sure with the better Stowe, that could have been about 2, it could have been actually up to 4 positions that he could have gained from that. Just missing that apex right there, and now he's almost about to spin, because that inside curb on the turn on turn 3 is one that you don't want to hit that much, and he just realized that a sausage curb to run over is not necessarily the best thing for the balance of the car.
Yeah, would you personally, would you go for a second lap on the soft tire? I mean, this is like it's a long track. There's a high load on the tires. The wear will be pretty heavy after 1 lap, even when they take the distance. But
Oates is off where Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton collided. Thankfully, that impact not at 51G. But yeah, I think that answers your question right there, because he was pushing for a second lap. And that's exactly what happens. The tires, especially in qualifying, so one thing you can do generally on F1, obviously there is parc fermé between qualifying and the race. However, the drivers are still allowed to change front wing. Generally doesn't happen. Usually the drivers don't touch that between qualifying and the race, but you know, sometimes there might be. If, you know, we get rain in qualifying, then dry race, or the other way around, then they play around with the front wing a bit. You can change brake bias and differential, and you can change the tire pressure. Now, the tire pressures are important because generally around this circuit and around most circuits for qualifying, the tire pressure is as high as it possibly can be. The drivers take it easy on the out lap, and then they go full beans on the hot lap. By that point, by the end of the hot lap, the tires are too hot to go for another lap. You need a cool down lap in between, or you just go straight back to the pit lane for another set of tires. So 2 laps in a row, the tires would be able to do it. You would still be able to execute your race strategy perfectly fine, but the tires in their qualifying setting, in their qualifying tire pressure, just cannot handle that.
yeah, and I'm with Daniel Walker on the last few corners of his hot lap. He's actually one of the first cars to place a time there. Let's see if there's an improvement. First sector was a little bit off, like 1/10, and he finally improves by almost 1/10, so maybe there was a bit more in it, but it's currently P5 and P6 for the Mercedes drivers. And yeah, actually it surprised me a little bit that the Haas driver was still pushing, even when in the first sector he had this massive slide, and that cannot be a good lap at that point. But maybe he already recognized, okay, if I have to go to the pits, if I have to take a new set of tires, then the time I will be running out of time, and maybe let's try a second shot. But yes, as you said, maybe there should have been a cool down lap, and the second try would have been even better.
Yeah, possibly. The tires certainly have it in them to go for a second run on the 3rd lap, if you will, but not 2 laps in a row. Dylan Warren, meanwhile, coming across the line. He improves by a cut. Oh, wow, by 0.8 of a second. Makes it a Red Bull provisional front row. Meanwhile, Fabio has spun on the exit of Stowe. He is out of this qualifying session. We have Neon now coming through the final couple of corners, almost loses it through Club, does improve by 0.3, but I think he may have been validated actually, because he stays on a 26.7. That would have been good enough for P8, but it doesn't count. Meanwhile, we have Kersey across the line, P4. Now we've got Jeffrey Ritchie up to P3. We've got Liam Parnell coming across the line. Slight improvement, 0.44 of a second. It's enough for a 1:25.990. Javier Fernandez across the line. Slight improvement, P10. We have next, I think, not Modesto Mena. That would be Coroningolo, P8. Yari Fitz splits the Red Bulls. Modesto Mena right behind Warren, P4. Can anyone beat Liam Parnell's time? We have Ikebania now through the final corner. Can he do it? No, P4 for him. We have the other Aston Martin of Bryn Evans come through. 0.6 of a second up already, but his first lap was not that good. So he will come across the line. He will not be able to challenge, but P10 at the very least. So he will have to start on this tire that he's using right now. And that is qualifying over and done with lots of retirements there at the end. I don't know what happened to Fabio, but he must have spun on the exit of Stowe. And yeah, we have once again our championship leader, Liam Parnell, on pole position.
Yeah, but what an impressive lap also from the reserve driver, having him on P2 just behind Liam Parnell. I think Liam was the only one to place 25.9, I think it was. But also Dylan Warren wasn't so far off. I think it was a 26.1. So actually, yeah, pretty close field there. And let's see how it was in the final results when... I'm still waiting for the results, actually.
Well, they have disappeared for me, so I think
yeah, no chance to highlight some drivers there. But I think it was what's his name?
It was.
Let me see.
It was so Yari Fitz was second.
Yeah,
so
right.
It was Liam Parnell, Yari Fitz, then Dylan Warren. Let me find who was fourth. Was it Ikebania? I think it was Ikebania. Then it was. I don't even remember. We'll see in a second. But what I can tell you is that from P2 to P5, they were all in the 126.1s. P6 was with a 126.2. So the top 6 were split by about 0.3 of a second. That is incredibly close. And I'm going to tell you right now, I think everyone inside the top 6 definitely has the potential to win. It's gonna come down to who makes the right moves, more importantly, at the right time.
Yeah, the good thing here in this format we have in the Global F1 is basically that we have a short qualifying. We don't have a big break. The drivers are ready to just start the race, so there's not much time wasted and we can still go with the action on track. And we had the chance to go through the main info here, also seeing some drivers. I see currently one driver. Jake Finch is the first one with the medium tire, and also then the last 3 drivers, Gelbivan, Fabio and Danny, is actually less drivers on medium tire than expected, but as we talked already, we have this one pit stop and maybe it's the better choice to just go for a soft hard strategy. But let's see.
No, soft medium, yeah, absolutely. You would not.
It can be soft medium, sorry, that was completely off. Yeah, it was soft medium of course. I don't know why I talk about hards here. Hard would be maybe the option if there's a first lap safety car or something like that. Yeah. You could really think about the hard tire. Sorry that I was completely messing up, but now we're back in the session. Let's see.
It's gonna be interesting. I think ultimately it doesn't really matter too much what tire they're on. I think the medium is still the better call for those outside the top 10. Obviously, inside the top 10, you go for the softs. But the reason why I say that is that if you start on the mediums or you start on the softs, if there's a lap 1 safety car, you go for the hards anyway. You don't care. At that point, if there's a lap 3, lap 4, lap 5 safety car, at that point, you're already going to go for the medium. So it's really only lap 1 where you go for hards if there is a safety car. But everyone's going to go for the hards there. The softs have an advantage if we do get that safety car early, but not lap 1, which is possible, but unlikely. It's not a track where you get off the safety cars very often. However, the alternate strategy, starting on mediums, then going for softs later on if there's no safety car at all, obviously has an advantage because you can overtake around the circuit quite easily and quite well. And these drivers, Jake Finch, Gelbivan, Fabio and Danny, will have a lot of pace come the end of the race.
Yeah, and while the drivers are lining up, the first turn is not so far away, but you could make a turn, and obviously this is your stuff. You ready for the start? I'm handing over to you.
I am absolutely ready. I can't wait for this. Here we go. The drivers are ready. The lights are turning on. We have 4 and 5. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, boys. And it is Liam Parnell with a pretty good start. Jari Fitz already almost alongside him. Has to defend a little bit against Dylan Warren here. Warren has to pull out of this move. And Liam Parnell is clear. Meanwhile, Dylan Warren, I think, was going for the move. He has to fight the car, not spin it around. And meanwhile, we have further back a couple of instances there of drivers losing positions. A little bit of shuffling. First position change. Highest position change, I should say. Jeffrey Ritchie got past Modesto Mena, but still Liam Parnell holding off on Jari Fitz, and it's getting a bit closer. Will Jari Fitz try to challenge Parnell into Kopp's corner? Will he try to pull a Verstappen/Hamilton on Liam Parnell? It doesn't look like it. Everyone has made it except for Zach Oates in P18. He is the first claim of this opening lap so far. Parnell still leads. Fitz second, and the top 8 ultimately, after 2 sectors, have not changed at all.
Yeah, we can see the cars very close to each other, and let's see if maybe someone is taking a hit here, but into Stowe there is absolutely no chance, I would say. This is far too fast a turn, but now we're going into the end of the first lap, and now on the way with Jeffrey Ritchie, but you can see all the drivers pretty close, so it's pretty hard to see what the action is happening. But we already have Oates in the pits, so no, he was a little off.
No.
So he's now back on track, and yeah, that's actually hard to say. That's about 67 seconds, and we got someone off. That's Daniel Rocker.
Qualified P11 ultimately had the choice of strategy here, went with the soft, and now he is down in 17th. Does he have damage? That is the question. Let's try and see if he does. Doesn't look like it. That front wing looks pretty decent. I'm going to go on board here to see. We have a yellow flag. That's Javier Fernandez, who is off as well in Brooklands, and between Brooklands and Lovefield really is where he was off. Right in between those 2 corners that are sort of bang, bang, right one after the other.
And we lost Fabio.
He's now down to last. Fabio's out, yeah. Wow, that's in... Oh, that's in Kopp's corner there. And it might have... I mean, I don't want to draw the comparisons there. You know what I'm going to say anyway. I don't even have to say it. But that is clearly... that corner right there. I don't know if it happened the way it happened between Verstappen and Hamilton, but the car has now been cleared. No safety car or virtual safety car for this one. Dylan Warren with the fastest lap of the race. Liam Parnell, however, still leads.
Yeah, and so far the drivers are not trying too much, to be honest. They I think they're queued up a lot, especially between P1 and P10. Actually, it's a full field from P1 to P14. Everyone close by. I think there's not much of a chance to overtake without DRS, but that's activated this round. And let's see how we go for the long hanger straight there, because Liam Parnell is just 2.5 of a second in front of Jari Fitz, and he looks like he's really up for it today. Surprisingly, driving there on a P2 in the qualifying. Haven't seen him so far, but let's see. Oh, Liam comes wide in there. Let's see if maybe Jari can benefit from that. Dylan Warren is already really close in the back of Jari Fitz. Let's see where he's coming out, but I think there's not so much of a chance if you're managing it well, and it looks
Here
like
comes Fitz.
He's going for it on the outside, and I think that was enough speed to take him, and that is like it.
It's a wonderful overtake from Jari Fitz there around the outside. A little bit late on the brakes. He knows he's got the further outside line Therefore, he can afford to brake a bit later, whereas Parnell was on the inside, had to brake earlier to make the corner, and Fitz just sweeps around the outside to take the lead of the race. Meanwhile, fastest lap in the back for Danny Cohen, 13th. Galbavand threatening to fall off of this whole train here. Him and Danny are pretty close to falling off there. Liam Parnell, he might actually fancy being behind Jari Fitz here. Let's see. Yeah, he's not using any ERS. He's not using any energy. This is pretty much comparable. If you've ever watched the Tour de France, this is pretty comparable to just simple peloton riding. You let the car in front in this case, or usually the rider in front, do the work. You know, they do the heavy lifting. They have to use all their energy. The car behind just sits there, uses a little bit of energy every now and again, but not nearly as much. And then later on, it all kicks off. We're going to have a mass sprint later on, I think, between all of these drivers. But we have, of course, the pit stops in between. Don't forget about those. Every driver has to use a different compound, just like in real F1. And I think this time around, Liam Parnell does not fancy the move. He gets closer and closer, but he will not go for that move. Too little, too late right there for the Red Bull driver and championship leader. Parnell stays in second. Jari Fitz is the tank engine that pulls this train.
Yeah, we can actually see it when looking at the battery on the ERS management of Liam Parnell. We see that he's not going for it. He doesn't even invest much. It's basically just the speed you have through the turns and on the straights, which is claiming some of the power which you have in the car, but he's not investing. I think if he wanted, he could just easily pass him. But yeah, if you have a driver which has a pretty okay pace in front of you, why wouldn't you follow him and then just manage the race?
Neon is off. Shazoo Neon is off in turns 1 and 2. Don't know what exactly was going on there, but I think this might land with the stewards, because usually this is not a spot where you just drive off on your own and make a mistake on your own. This is something where if you go side by side, there can easily be some contact, and I think that's what happened here. Don't know who was involved otherwise, though, but yeah, the stewards, I think, will get a good look at that one. However, we look further ahead again. Liam Parnell's getting oh so close to Jari Fitz here. Good exit. He might not have to use any ERS, and he might still... Yep, Jari Fitz is not even defending it much. Sure, in terms of placement of the car, yes, he's going to the inside, but oh, they're actually battling. Jari Fitz didn't want to use any ERS. Now he does, just to stay with him. But round the outside of Vale, which now turns to the inside for Club, they're still side by side. But now I think Parnell has them cleared. Yes, he does. Liam Parnell slots in right in front of Jari Fitz, takes back the lead, and Jari Fitz once again can just relax behind Parnell. Now he can use his ERS, or regain his ERS, recharge his batteries. Oh, and here goes Dylan Warren for the move. Jari Fitz had to avoid Parnell here a little bit, had to go a little bit wide, and that opened the door for Dylan Warren, who wants the move, but it's just not on. Fitz not going for the move on Parnell. Once again, if you have depleted your battery a little bit, and Jari Fitz did when he was in the lead, then you want to recharge. So he's not fancying the move just yet, but Jari Fitz, he is very close to Parnell. I think we could definitely expect a couple more lead changes here until the pit stop phase. The question really is, who's going to be the first one to pull the trigger on that pit stop? I would argue the pit stop window for the soft runners is already open. Oh, and Jari Fitz runs wide there through Beckett's and Chapel. And now Dylan Warren is getting a bit closer. Fitz as well. Fitz goes for the move down the inside, but does not have the speed. And is anyone coming in? Yes, Dylan Warren is coming in. He pulls the trigger, and he's not the only one. Banya as well. And not just him either. We've got Jeffrey Ritchie behind too. So 3 drivers this early on, and that will jumpstart everyone else's plans for the pit stop. I'm pretty sure that Liam Parnell's going to come next lap. I'm pretty sure that Bryn Evans is going to come in next lap. I'm pretty sure that who's Jeffrey Ritchie's teammate? That would be the other Alpine. I would say not Modesto Mina, hold up. Coroningolo, also Williams. I think where's the other Alpine? Is that, hold up. I'm blind. Oh, Kersey in P4, of course. There he is. Kersey in P4. I think he will also come in. Maybe Jari Fitz will follow Parnell into the pit lane as well. So lots of pit stops to happen in the next 1 or 2 laps of this race, to the point where I would say within the next 3 laps, only the medium runners, Jake Finch, Danny Coe, and Gelbevand, are still going to be on their medium tires. All the soft runners will have switched to mediums as well. And we will truly see a Gelbevand, a yellow wall, but a yellow wall of tires on our timing tower here. Fitz getting closer to Parnell. Does he? Yeah, he wants to be the first one in the pit lane. He really wants to be the first one in the pit lane. This tells me that Jari Fitz is probably going to head into the pits. Goes for the move. And is he gonna pull right? Yes, oh, the dummy. He faked to stay out, comes in, and he's not the only one. Mena, Kersey, we have a, what? We had a Mercedes and an Aston Martin go side by side in Catalundi and Bryn Evans. They sorted themselves out, but 5 more cars in the pit lane. That promotes Jake Finch all the way up to 2nd now. And Liam Parnell, I think, is going to lose a lot of time by running on those soft tires here. All alone, no DRS, nothing to his power here. He has to run. He has clean air. That's the good news. The bad news is that's about the only thing he's got going for him. Let's see where Dylan Warren is right now. He's on the main straight. They're all going to come out of the pit lane now. Is Warren ahead of Fitz? There's Fitz on the right side. Fitz will get the DRS. Warren has the position, but Fitz will get the DRS down the Wellington straight and has a great opportunity to immediately take back that position and take the net lead of the race. Warren is defending. And I think Fitz actually likes 2nd place here. Oh, well, he's looking. No, he just wants to show himself in the mirrors of Dylan Warren. He wants to make sure that, hey, I'm there. You better know I'm there. That's the message Jari Fitz just sent to that Red Bull in front of him of Dylan Warren.
Yeah, I'm observing a little bit what drivers have been in the pits. We see a lot of drivers there. We are almost, let's say, 2/3 of the field were already in pits. Now Liam Parnell is also in the pits, and I think it's not too long for the medium tires. I think they can last the distance of 19-20 laps, as we spoke before the race. But yeah, maybe in the end they will just drop a little with the lap times, and we see. I'm not sure. Did Jari Fitz try to overtake, or was just a little playing with Dylan Warren there?
It was just playing. Dylan Warren did everything he could to defend that. He's used a lot of ERS since. Jari Fitz, I mean, to use the technical term, he's chilling. I mean, he has no intention of going for that overtake just yet. Parnell out of the pit lane, behind Fitz and Warren. And there's Ikabanya as well. So Parnell, by staying out longer, loses 3 places, not just 1 or 2. And he's now down to a net 4th in this race. And in fact, we might have Modesta Mena fancying a move. However, yeah, everyone's using a lot of ERS right now. In fact, Ikabenya, he's down to 20%. Oh, he's really struggling to keep the back wheel of Jari Fitz, or the back wheels, I should say, of Jari Fitz, to stick with him. And that might really pull a rift if Warren and Fitz work together here and can pull the 2nd. Then we have ourselves a chance that we only see a 2-way battle for the win. And everyone behind, Baenya, Parnell, Mena, Ritchie, Kersey, Lundy, they're all, Koroningolo, Evans, they're all just going to battle over the final spot on the podium. If they play their cards right, it seems like they do. Fitz goes for the move on Warren, and he's got the position. That, I think, can still be part of working together. If Fitz can clear Warren cleanly before the braking zone, and he did, then that doesn't cost either driver too much time. So it's really like these two are escaping. Once again, the Tour de France analogy. These two are the escape drivers. Everyone behind is the peloton, and they're just switching around every single lap to make the other driver do the work and use their energy, use their battery charge in this case, and try to drive away from the likes of Ikabanya, Liam Parnell, Modesta Mena, etc. If Liam Parnell knew Icabeño's battery charge, he would be a lot more urgent when it comes to overtaking. But Baena, so far, he's still net third. It's going to be interesting to see when Parnell gets that sense of urgency and decides, you know what, enough is enough. We're losing so much time here to those two front runners. We have to get a move on. So far, he remains behind. Meanwhile, Dylan Warren actually losing a bit of time here to Jari Fitz, who's trying to make his own escape. That's early to try and break up that two-way group. And Jari Fitz trying to get away, but I don't think he'll be able to. Meanwhile, Parnell, now he's fancying the move. DRS open, ERS battery, and he is flying. Absolutely flying down the hangar straight. That is the position taken. Baena defends from Modesto Mena, keeps P4 right now. And Liam Parnell up to third. He will have the mammoth task right now of trying to catch back up with Dylan Warren and Jari Fitz up ahead. 1.7 seconds the gap. Daniel Roca into the pits. That's pretty late for the softs to go on to mediums, but his mediums will have absolutely no trouble to make it to the end of the race. And yeah, we have 3 drivers still out there with no pit stops yet. That's Jake Finch, Danny Coe, and Gelbevand. The 2 McLarens and the other AlphaTauri. So the AlphaTauris on split strategies there. And 2 McLarens and 2 AlphaTauris in the top 4 right now, with 2 Red Bulls in 5 and 6. So very, I guess, segregated between the teams there at the front.
Yeah, so from your point of view, when coming back to the Red Bull strategy, taking Dylan Warren first and then Liam Parnell after 2 laps, don't you think that was a bit of a mistake? You wouldn't do that in real life Formula 1, right?
You wouldn't really, but yeah, I think it is a mistake from Icabeña there to use as much battery charge and still not be able. I think that's just. I'm surprised that he's struggling because he is a quick driver, but look at Liam Parnell now. He's almost within a second of Dylan Warren. And I think, I might be wrong here, but I think Dylan Warren might actually play the team game here. He might actually play the team game, trying to get Liam Parnell close. I'm not sure if it's the smartest thing, because I'd rather have a P1 and P3 than trying to go for the risk of a P1, P2 with the potential downside of a, well, I guess, what would it be?
Oh, we see Dylan Warren off track.
Oh, yeah, Warren off. Warren off lost it through turn 2 there, turns 1 and 2, through Abbey and Farm. And does he have the DRS? He still does, because the detection point is before turn 3. And he was just able to get that there, but he will have to claw back all that distance. And Fitz might actually fancy going for a bit of an ERS run here and try and pull that gap up to over a second. We'll see how that develops. The next DRS detection point is at the entry of Maggots. So we go through Cops, and then we have Maggots, the left-hander, and past the left-hander we have that inside the right-hander, if you will. Inside the first right-hander, we have the detection point, and it's over a second. Dylan Warren will not have DRS. Jari Fitz has completed that ERS run. He is trying to make a run for it, but Warren is going for ERS to go back at him. Oh, this is the mind games are coming out early.
Yeah, interesting to see what the drivers are doing, and I think especially now a safety car, a virtual safety car, could affect the whole race massively when the drivers are forced to think, are they gonna go for a pit or not? Because still you lose places, still you lose time, and of course you could maybe go for the soft compound already. I think 13 laps, that should be fine. But now it's halftime here in Silverstone, and we have Jake Finch leading the race with his old medium tires with a 2.4 second, 2.5 now on Danny Cole and Gelderland. Let's see how that will end up for them, because they are going. And we have sent Olds is off. He went off, right?
Yeah, exit of Stowe, pit entry, and I think that was mostly on his own. I don't think there was anyone involved there. Any other cars a bit too far away. Car has been taken off the track now, so we're back under green across the whole circuit. But yeah, once again, Stowe just claiming another victim there. We saw it in qualifying, and we see it in the race once more with St. Oates right there. Meanwhile, Dylan Warren has caught up to Jari Fitz. The run unsuccessful for Fitz. And I would also say the pit window, now that the top three, Finch, Danny, and Gelbevand, have all gone past the pit lane entry, I would say pit window for the medium runners for the top three is now open. So I would expect them within the next 2 to 3 laps to make their pit stops onto soft tires. As you said, 13 laps they can definitely last. They would have to make 12 if they pit at the end of this lap. That's certainly possible. And you want as many laps on these tires as possible. What you don't want is to stretch those mediums long, and then only have about, 7 laps left to go for the softs. That's just not enough. You want the softs as early as possible because you can see right now, Finch, Danny, and Gelbevand are losing more and more time. The gap between Fitz and Gelbevand used to be 17 seconds. It's down to under 15 now.
Yeah, and also considering P13, currently 27.5 seconds. We have Xavier Fernandez off after turn 1. So there's like 27 seconds between P13 and P1. That means when they're going for a pit stop, and we learned that we have like 28, 29, maybe 30 seconds, depending on how fast you have to get in and to get out. That means that P1, 2, and 3 are virtually coming out last of the field, like here P13, 14, and 15 potentially. Let's see how Daniel Rocker can maybe gain some places here, but in the end, yes, of course, they have a fresh tire, but they have a lot of traffic, so I'm not sure how much longer they want to wait, because the gap is getting smaller and smaller. Now it's like a low 27, and the longer they wait, the far off they come out, and I think they will be happy if they are going into the points in the end.
Yeah, the one thing that needs to be said though at the same time is that the longer they wait, the better their fresh tires will, their fresh soft will be compared to the older and older mediums of the cars around them. So right now, fresh softs to fresh mediums, as we said earlier, is about half a second difference. If we look at the medium tires that Jari Fitz, Dylan Warren, Ian Parnell, and everyone else in that train have right now, all the way down to Coran Ingolo and Bryn Evans, who are not part of the train, but somewhat separated from the herd. I would say the gap is probably about a second that they would gain a lap on those soft tires, if not more. Might even be 1.1, 1.2. So certainly a big opportunity. Javier Fernandez retires. Well, he doesn't retire in the pit lane, but he goes into the pit lane, then leaves the session. That counts as a retirement, I'm pretty sure. Not that he would score points anyway at this point in the race. We have our first pit stop. Danny Coe is in, and he pulls the trigger on the pit stop. He will come out, unless there's some crazy things going on in the pit lane. I think he will come out behind Bryn Evans, but ahead of Daniel Rocca. That would be P13.
We have Dylan Warren putting some pressure on Jari Fitz in front. There was like down to 1/10 of a second at the end of the straight. I'm not sure if he wanted to go for the overtake or he's just managing it. He's down to 60% ERS. Looking at Jari, he has a little bit less, 10% less than P4, and Liam himself has also something around 60%. So it's not completely just saving and loading the battery, but it's...
Danny Coe is around! Danny Coe is around, and he played a dangerous game there. I was watching it, and Danny Coe came out of the pit lane about half a second ahead of Daniel Rocca. Decides to go defensive and stamp on the brakes before the DRS detection point to get the DRS on Daniel Rocca, and then kept his car on the inside there, trying to keep the position and have the DRS on Rocca so that he can then drive away. Unfortunately, Daniel Rocca saw that as an invitation to just take the racing line all to himself, not realizing Danny Coe was still on the inside. Danny now has damage to the front wing and will make his way to the pit lane, I think, and will get repairs going on. Jake Finch in the pit lane. He will come out behind Daniel Rocca, I'm pretty sure. Behind Bryn Evans, ahead of Daniel Rocca. But yeah, Danny played a dangerous game. However, I would put the blame to that mostly on Daniel Rocca, because Danny was still there and he should have noticed that Danny was still there. So Daniel Rocca, the stewards will ultimately decide, but I think it's more on him than it is on Danny there. But ultimately still a stupid game to play by Danny Coe, trying to get the DRS there when you're clearly in a battle and you have the superior tire. You have the superior tire. You're on the fresh soft, and Danny actually sticks it out as well. Despite the front wing damage, he remains out on track, trying to tough it out. Jake Finch now almost on the back of Bryn Evans. Give it a lap or two. He'll be right there trying to make some moves.
Yeah, we saw Iker Baena going for a pass into the sector 2. There's some small mind games going on right now. Obviously, we don't have that much action currently in this small train of cars, but sometimes they're just trying a different race line. They're just trying to maybe get a better exit or something, and then just giving it everything, just going in for the gap, and if it's there, if it works out, then okay. Otherwise, they're just going for the risk that they're losing some place. But that's what's happening right now, and it's looking so crazy when you're going on board with all the drivers being so close. One minor mistake can just kick you off 3, 4, 5 places, especially when you're there in front, maybe fighting for the lead, and then you're maybe just off track coming back and you lost 4 positions. So that's actually also pretty impressive, because everyone who was driving in some league at some point knows that not everyone is braking at the same point. Maybe someone is braking earlier, someone later. Sometimes drivers are missing the line, missing the braking point, and suddenly you have a front wing off coming, because it's just unpredictable. And here they are driving so organized. So that's what it requires in the minimum when driving in such a league.
Meanwhile, I'm looking at Jake Finch. He's getting closer and closer to Kuron N'Golo and Bryn Evans, and he might be fancying a move rather soon. Let's see. It carries so much more speed through Cobbs, but he also extends on the exit there, and he can't make the overtake happen here. Maggotts Becker's Chapel, this is a one-way street right there. Can't overtake, but now he might fancy the move, but he has to use so much ERS to get past, and he still might not be able to do it. Oh, they're going 3 wide. Oh, this is getting so close. Jake Finch, and I think Bryn Evans just... Oh, Evans pushes off Jake Finch. Finch still there. Breaks later, and I think, yep, has the position now up to P10. Should have Kuron N'Golo down the Wellington Straight for the next DRS zone. Remember, no DRS here anymore down the Hamilton Straight, and therefore no real overtaking opportunity as Modesto Mena and Iker Baena battling over P4, and Mena around the outside should have a slightly better run, but the longer line. Oh, and Baena almost pushes him. He pushes him onto the grass. Baena pushes Mena onto the grass, and Mena still there despite all of that. Oh, and again they touch. Mena pushes his way through after the disrespect by Iker Baena to push him onto the grass. Mena has the position, and I think that's par for the course right there. Baena started the fight. Mena said, come on, bring it, and there goes Jeffrey Ritchie. Oh my days, and now Baena and Ritchie are sort of tied together here. What is happening? Oh, Baena into the wall, and he's out of the race. That is a heavy impact for Iker Baena. Out of the race, Jeffrey Ritchie slides back onto the track in Beckett. Oh my, carnage ensues in the, I mean, that was in the high positions. That was P4, P5, P6 going at it. That was a good amount of points that the likes of Iker Baena and Jeffrey Ritchie could have scored. Now Ritchie's down to 10th. It's unlikely he'll score any points at this point because he's got damage clearly to the car. Danny Rocca might fancy a move. So, yeah, I don't know what is going on between those drivers there, but there was a lot of anger between all of them.
Yeah, and some of our... some of the people which are watching, maybe they were like, oh wait, I have seen something similar like that going off there, maybe getting in touch, and then he was just going off. I mean, one car luckily survived there. I mean, one was going into the wall, another one had a big spin, and just one car was like driving like nothing happened. So pretty impressive. But yeah, you could have predicted that something like that happens when they're going so close for almost half a lap through almost every turn, side by side, very close to each other, just taking another line and trying to get an advantage. And that was actually pretty nice to have a look at, even with the small pushes and small off-track phases. But the ending, yeah, of course, that's not what we want to see when cars are pushed that much that they're just flying off. And yeah, unfortunately we're down now to 13 drivers since Javier Fernandez is actually not driving himself anymore. So 13 drivers going for the last 6-7 laps here. Now it's 6 laps. And we have the 2 Red Bull on P1 and P3. We have Jari on P2. Nothing changed there so far. The drivers are pretty much behaving in the first few positions. And yeah, we have a gap between P6 and P7. That means the train of cars is now down to 6. And currently Kersey has a time penalty, and if I'm not completely wrong, he got it earlier in the race for cutting a corner and then getting 5 seconds on top. I'm not sure if that can be taken away from him. So I would say the podium is down to 5 drivers right now.
Yeah, I don't think he might be able to fight the 3-second time penalty, but if he got a warning incorrectly, for example, that's possible. Actually, his 5-second time penalty came from corner cutting and gaining a place, so that might also be removed potentially, because he might make the argument to the stewards that, hey, I was pushed off here. I did not leave the track under my own power. I was left no space, so I had to drive off, and then he might be able to get that 5-second penalty removed. It's not a 5-second for speeding in the pit lane or something like that. We've seen that before. That will not get removed whatsoever. But sort of corner cutting, gaining a position, that might actually be removed post-race. So we have to take everything with a grain of salt here. I think Kersey, he's still in P6 though. And Jake Finch is not making the inroads on the top 6 that I expected from him on the fresher soft tires. He should be making a lot more ground up on the top 6 than he actually does right now. I feel like maybe he's been battling a bit too much with Coroningolo behind him. Maybe that Williams was a thorn in his side for a bit too long. As the battle up front heats up, Dylan Warren leads the way right now, but Jari Fitz, he fancies his chances. And I mean, just look at the ERS of everyone behind Dylan Warren at this point. I mean, Modesto Meda is struggling a bit, Catalundi is struggling, Kersey is struggling a bit, but Liam Padal and Jari Fitz, they are battle ready. And Dylan Warren is, I'm going to make the call right now. I'm going to make the prediction. I'm going to lean out of the window and say, hey, I don't think Dylan Warren is going to win this race. I think it's either Fitz or Parnell. Whoever plays their cards better will... Actually, look at Jari Fitz. He closes his DRS before the braking zone. He actually turns off his DRS because he doesn't want to overtake yet. I mean, that's remarkable. He deliberately gains more downforce and sacrifices the straight line speed that you get from DRS just to make sure that, hey, I actually don't want to overtake this guy just yet. I want to give it a bit more time. So, lap 23 now. I think still too early. I think Jari Fitz, if I try to think like Jari Fitz, try to think like a racing driver, when would I try it? 25. The ERS lasts, or you can use about 50% of your ERS battery charge throughout a lap until you get to the point where you've used all your deployment for the lap, you can't use any more, and therefore you're just regaining some in the corners, but you're not using any. 50% roughly over the course of a whole lap. Well, we multiply that by 2, that's 100. That's exactly your full battery charge. So I think Jari Fitz Wellington straight into Brooklands, lap 25. So right now, nothing going on so much. They're still behind each other, but if you're watching right now, you want to stay tuned in. Here comes
I think
Jari
Liam is
Fitz.
trying.
Oh, Liam,
Whoa.
yeah, Liam wants to make it a 1-2. Oh, and Liam just does not have the cornering speed. Jari Fitz looking for a little bit of a move there, not on, no point. And Jari Fitz knows that. I think it's still the sort of mind game of, hey, I'm going to show myself in the mirror of the driver in front. Just show that I'm there. He'll see, he'll notice. And obviously for the drivers, it's not so much the mirrors. It's more so the red arrow that they see, or the white arrow. If that all of a sudden moves to the side, for the driver, that can be a very, very interesting psychological sign of, oh, he's going for the move, when he might not intend to do so. But yeah, we see once again, Jari Fitz getting closer and closer to Dylan Warren, but lap 24, I still think a bit too early. Next lap, we'll see maybe lap 25 Hanger Straight instead of the Wellington Straight. Maybe down towards Stowe instead of Brooklands, but one of the two. Either way, I think lap 25. I don't think 24 Hanger Straight is going to be the call just yet, although he might fancy it. If he can have enough ERS left after the overtake, then he might fancy the move here already. And don't forget Modesto Mena, he's still on the back of this train. He just doesn't have the ERS to combat with those drives in front. Is Fitz going to go for that? Even Parnell is struggling, and I think Fitz is not. 3 wide! Parnell through the middle! Are you serious? They switched positions! They completely flipped around the top 3. Warren losing 2 places, Parnell gaining 2. And Fitz, well, he lost 1 and he gained 1. He stays where he is. What a remarkable moment. And Liam Parnell through the middle like an arrow. And 2 laps to go. Penultimate lap. Liam Parnell, the championship leader, leads this race ahead of Jari Fitz and Dylan Warren. Will Fitz try to go for the move here down the Wellington Straight? He has a lot more ERS and he needs to get Parnell down. He needs to put him under pressure. There is the disconnected Alfa Romeo up ahead, and that might play a role down the Hanger Straight.
Oh, Dylan on the inside. Now on the outside.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, now the outside for Luffield, and you just can't hang there. You just can't hang there. That corner is so long, it's almost never ending. It is a full-on hairpin, but a long hairpin. And you just can't hang around the outside there. The inside is just better in wheel-to-wheel racing at that point. And now Modesto Mena might fancy move. Catalundi in 5th as well. There's 6 drivers involved here. What is happening? This is absolute madness. And Liam Parnell still leads the way. Did he get DRS? No, he did not. Does Fitz fancy the move? Yes, he does. Down the inside of Parnell into the lead of the race. And he will have enough ERS to battle. But will Parnell have enough to get the position back? Kuraningolo goes past Jake Finch into Stowe. So Jake Finch's tyres are gone, and everything's kicking off up in front. Parnell and Warren are now side by side. Mena and Lundy are side by side. Kersey pushes Lundy and Mena through the corner, then gets a bit of a lag spike there, and has fallen off the group, and it's kicking off again, and Jari Fitz might fancy it. Here, Dylan Warren off the track. That's a 3-second penalty. Might get that removed because he didn't gain an advantage, and he was just avoiding action, avoiding action. And Liam Parnell with the DRS, can he close in once again on Jari Fitz? 1.1 seconds. It's coming down a little bit, but Jari Fitz has a huge gap. If he makes no mistakes at this point, he might be able to bring this home. Jari Fitz can win this race, but he needs to make sure that every single corner is right. And Liam Parnell is trying to hold this train behind. He's trying to keep the one behind. Lindy round the outside at Cobbs on Warren. Is that even a Mercedes and a Red Bull? We've seen that before. This time around it is clean though. And Dylan Warren keeps P3. Oh my days, what is happening? Warren surely must fancy the move on Parnell here, but he has that 3-second time penalty. However, it might get removed, and Cartalundi also with the move down the inside of Parnell. He's in P3 now. Everyone uses every bit of energy they have. Parnell around the outside. Can he hold it? No, he can't. Cartalundi into P3. Does Lundy fancy a move into Vale? No, he does not. Jari Fitz has used all of his energy, and to good use as he crosses the line to win the British Grand Prix. Dylan Warren crosses the line in 2nd, gets dropped down to 5th. He might get that 2nd place back though on penalty removal. We will see about that. Carter for now second. And finally, his best result of the season. He was there so many times, so many opportunities. And as I said earlier, finally he got lucky. Finally he's there. P2, Liam Parnell keeps the championship lead with a 3rd place, another podium, his 5th in 6 races. Remarkable performance from him this season. Modesta Mena 4th, Dylan Warren 5th for now. Bryn Evans in 6th, remarkable result for him as well. He's going to be happy for sure. Conor Ningolo 7, Jake Finch 8, Jeffrey Ritchie 9. And the final point goes to Kersey. Daniel Rocker, P11, Gelbovan 12. My goodness, what a race. Get in there, Jari Fitz. What a remarkable drive. And he crowns himself with the first win of the season for him. I mean, this race had everything. This is one of the best races I've ever commentated, I have to say. And all thanks to all of these guys who were just so evenly matched. And it all comes down to the minor things. It all comes down to who plays their cards right at the right time. And it was Jari Fitz who gets to pop the champagne alongside Carter Lundy and Liam Parnell on the top step of the podium. There are the results. Hopefully they pop up this time. Jari Fitz, the AlphaTauri driver, with his first win of the season. And we are still we're now only with 3 teams that have won a race so far this season. Red Bull, 3 out of the first 6. Haas, 2, both by Ruben Vallejo. And now Jari Fitz with his first win and the first win for AlphaTauri. And AlphaTauri jumps up the standings. They had 26 points before this race. Now they almost double it up to 51. And they jump. They do actually tie it with Mercedes now. And they possibly, if Warren gets his penalty removed, they jump Mercedes. And they also jump McLaren, who only got 4 points from Jake Finch here today. So AlphaTauri up to 6th in the standings. But my days, are we going to have interviews with the drivers post-race here? I wonder.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, this was definitely something what we can talk about in the interviews, and definitely some nice showdown in the last few laps here. And I hope maybe Liam also is able to push the drivers a little bit to come into the interviews there and have a quick chat with us about the race, about the strategy, what they did, what maybe their expectation for the race was. But I mean, the expectation definitely was fulfilled for Jari Fitz, which is already in the waiting room for us, so we can maybe have a check if just someone
I'll bring
else
him
is
in.
Also just join.
Oh, I can't.
First.
Oh no, I can. There you go. It just glitched out on me for a second, but there he is, the winner of the race. And what a race it was. Jari Fitz, get in there. Congratulations, man. What was this race like for you? I mean, this was just utter madness, wasn't it?
Yeah, man, I can't believe. Just fucking weird. Like the whole time, Dylan was staying behind me, like the medium stint, and I was a little bit in shock what's gonna happen because Liam was also very in the attack mode. Let's say that, and I don't know what happened at the end, to be honest. So GG to the podium, and maybe Liam is also now in this call. Maybe he can explain something or something. But I'm happy with the win.
Yeah, we'll get to Liam in a second. What was going through your mind in the last 2 laps? Was that the plan? Was it just working out perfectly, or was it a little bit improvised there?
Yeah, a little bit improvised. 100%. I couldn't. I didn't know what's gonna happen like lap 2, but the moment where Liam hit my back, in my opinion, gave me a little bit of wing damage on the rear wing, because I was like sliding in T1 and it was really tricky. So I thought, fuck, maybe I'm gonna lose this race. But yeah, Liam got also front wing damage, I thought. So when I saw like on the entry of cops, I saw 1.5 gap. I thought this is my win today.
Yeah, and just what's it like to win a race finally this season? And win an absolutely manic race like that on top of it. Like, just it's your first win this season. How does it feel?
Yeah, I'm very happy. Didn't know what the times are gonna be in quali, but yeah, Liam was 100% faster in quali. He got a 10 on me, and yeah, race pace was feeling good, and it was like yeah, it's sad to see that like the race was a whole DRS train, but yeah, that's the game, and you can't do anything about it. But yeah, really happy that I can win in like such a league what you guys are running.
Thomas, do you have any questions for Jari?
Yeah, well, I basically just want to know how you enjoyed the battling in the last few laps with Liam and with Dylan, because there was one situation where Liam was coming from P3 to P1, and Dylan Warren was going back from P1 to P3, and there was like a weird situation for you, wasn't it? Because they were basically switching positions and you were not able to take advantage of that move.
Nah, that was a little bit calculated, to be honest. What I wanted to stick on P2, and I don't really care what Liam and Dylan are doing because they are teammates. So maybe they wanted to play a little game with me. That's why I don't know. But yeah, what my plan was is just to stay on P2 and go like for the last 2 laps for the move with the DRS. What's the most important? If you have like DRS last lap, maybe you get everything together and you can overtake him. So that was a little bit the plan, but I was a little bit confused. That's 100% true. I was a little bit confused because what I did, but everything went my side, and yeah, I got the win.
Yeah, totally, and it definitely looked some kind of fancy on TV cam, to be honest. So we had a lot of nice fights there. But yeah, that makes us coming to Carter Lundi. Welcome in the chat here. I think, Austin, if you want to just hang in there as well for Carter Lundi.
Carter, congratulations on your 2nd place. Best result of the season. How does it feel?
Really happy with that one. I've had quite the stretch of bad luck recently, and it just feels so good to be back on the podium.
Yeah, we've talked about that earlier. I mean, you've had 17 points so far this season, so you're really doubling your points tally already. First half of the season didn't go all too well, but we have the second half of the season still to come. With this 2nd place in mind, does that raise the expectations for the second half? Are you saying, hey, I'm still in this, I can still mount some kind of a challenge here?
Well, obviously, I'm confident in myself, and I know I can be at the front when I put the hours in and do my best. I didn't have much expectation for today, actually, because of the new performance patch, and I only got on about 10 minutes before the race. And in qualifying, I only qualified like 8th or something. But in the race, it was just one of those times where I just surprisingly found some pace. And I think at one point I was setting fastest laps a couple times in a row, and then I just stuck with the train, and everything came together.
Yeah, it really did come together there. You were stuck in that whole train, mostly in sort of, not in the top 3, that's for sure. We saw them battling for ages, but sort of between P4 and P7 for the most part. What was going on there? I mean, I'm pretty sure you had the perfect seat on this track to see absolutely everything unfold in that, at one point, big group.
I definitely did. So, yeah, I was just going through the race. I was like, oh, I can stick with the train. I have the pace. And then everybody kind of everything just kept coming my way. Kersey had a screen freeze, so we got glitched behind me, which was a free position. And then Ace and Aston Martin ran each other wide at Cops. And I'm like, okay, I could be on for a podium here. And then I kept catching up during the final few laps. And I was like, please battle, please battle. And then in the final lap, it was just crazy. I saw Dylan had a penalty, and I was in P5 to start the final lap, and then it was 3 wide in the first sector, actually. And then when I saw Dylan had a penalty, I just knew I had to get by Liam Parnell. And then I did through Stowe, and it was just a crazy last lap.
I mean, it really was. Next week, we got Austria. Is that a track you're looking forward to? Is that a track where you say, miss me with that one?
I think for everybody, it's a track where it's like, we have to drive Austria. It's not the best track. There's a lot of I say bad track limits there.
Okay, so we can expect a lot of penalties then next time around, huh?
Definitely.
All right. Thomas, do you have any questions for Catalani?
Well, not really a question, but just congratulations to P2. I think we had you in the stream a few times in the past few weeks already, and I think the races were not that lucky for you, but even more, we were not predicting you on a P2 at the end. So yeah, congratulations totally from our side, and let's hope to see you there more often in future. I mean, we have some dudes where we're looking at and we were thinking, okay, they might be fighting for the podium today, and then actually last week, for example, I think you had you went off or something like that. I think there was not the best race in Italy. I think there was an DNF, and the week before also wasn't the most lucky one for you. So nice to see you up there, and keep going for it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
So yeah,
right.
Coming to P3, Liam Parnell, it's let's say it's again a podium. This time it's not P1. It was not as easy as it looked last week in Italy. There was like no practice P1. I think today it was a bit more tough, especially because the cars were so close to each other. But yeah, congratulations at this point, and definitely you were picking up some good points for the team as well.
Yeah, I mean, bit painful in the end to end up on P3 or maybe P4, depends if Dylan gets his penalty removed. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like my pace was really, really good. Yeah, I had to go longer because otherwise I get held in the pits. So I went to lap 9 and I still got held in the pits by the Williams, so that was already very unfortunate. But yeah, then I was just kind of stuck in P3. I couldn't really get past. So me and Dylan planned it out quite well, I think. I got into P1 and yeah, we took P1 back for me. I tried to then maybe attack him again on the last lap, because I still had like 70% ERS and a lot of top speed. So I was actually quite confident on that. But yeah, then the chicane happened. I think Dylan and the Williams were fighting, and the Williams was going down the inside, so I had to brake later. But Yawi was also still there, and yeah, it was just a stupid mistake for me. I should have just broke earlier, and yeah, but I broke too late and hit Yawi and pretty much killed any chance of the race win then. So yeah, that was quite unfortunate.
It's pretty understandable that you guys are going for the race win, but looking at the team championship, you definitely made some good points. And as of the fact that Haas was not finishing today in the points, that means they will not follow you today. Basically, you're increasing around 20-25 points today, which makes it up to a lead of almost 100 points to P2. I have to check that later on, but that is actually a very impressive lead after 6 races. So congratulations there also towards Dylan Warren, who might claim your P3, but I think as it is your teammate, I think you can handle the pain there.
I mean, on the other side, it's my main championship rival, so it's so hard to admit, but yeah, it's great that we are able to get so many points as a team. At the moment, it looks like me and Dylan are gonna fight it out for the championship, unless somebody wins every race now and also gets into the fight. But yeah, at the moment, yeah, it's gonna end up in a team battle for the championship. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Maybe at the end of the season we won't play that many team games anymore.
Alright. So yeah, Betterman, do you have anything to add? Any more questions towards P3?
I do. I have one question, Liam. You've arguably just produced the greatest overtake of the season so far, but going down the middle of the 2 cars that were in front of you before it. What was that moment like? You were just one goes to the left, one goes to the right. You just okay, well, parting the sea. What was going through your mind in that moment?
I knew that I had to do it now or never. Otherwise, I'm gonna be stuck in P3 until the end of the race. So, to be fair, I think Yaoi wasn't finding it too much, because he was aiming for the DRS and to pass me on lap 25. But yeah, like, I was shot as well, and I knew that was going to be a highlight, so I was happy with that move. Yeah, I think and I hope that we can have a lot more exciting races like this, because I think this race was a real banger.
Yeah, thank you for your words there. I mean, definitely it was. We had a lot of cars not only in the first few places of the race, we also had in the background quite some wheel-to-wheel action through Sector 1, Sector 2, going into Sector 3 with a little crash there. Might be some videos coming in for the stewards, but yeah, let's see what's going on there. But I think, yeah, thank you for the interviews. Thanks for joining us here for the end of the race. So if you don't have any questions, Benjamin, then I would just, no
further questions from me.
No further questions
from me.
Yeah, so at that point, thanks for joining, and have a nice evening. Hopefully see you next week on track again, and maybe also then in the interview box. So, and then we're coming to an end for today. As we already spoke, next week we're going to Austria, which is we heard it already. It's not the track which is that favorite one of the drivers, but let's see. It is also with 3 DRS zones. It's actually possible to overtake a lot if you have the right line or if you have the best setup. Let's see what the drivers will offer. For today, I think we're fine, right?
Yeah, we are absolutely fine. I'm completely exhausted at this point. I just want this to be over with and see you all next week. But this was a manic race. I'm absolutely shot. Yeah, we have Austria. For the drive, here's what I'm going to say about Austria for next week. I think this is important. The drivers don't like it because of the track limits, and we can see quite a few penalties there next week. Turn 1 in particular. But also turn 7, turn 8. Oh, sorry, turn 6. Sorry, yeah, turn 6, turn 8. Turn 9 and turn 10, so half the track basically, because it only has 10 turns and 5 of them could give you corner cut or track limit penalties. But I could also say, because it only has 10 corners, which is the fewest on the calendar, we're also going to see a lot of battling. I think we will see the continuation of what we saw today in terms of craziness. We're going to see manic battling between above 6, 7, 8, 10 drivers, and yeah, craziness once again. So do not miss this. Do not miss next week. If you've missed this race today, watch it back, honestly. But watch it back, because you've missed one of the greatest races I've ever been allowed to commentate. And next week will probably be just as crazy, because Austria always throws up these crazy races. And with that, we will see you next week for round number 7 of the Racing Liga Global F1 PC. Thank you very much for watching, everyone, and until next time, goodbye.